Hi, Shushan. So, I wrote out some stuff for your lesson this week, and we'll go through it, all of it right here, and then I'll record the song separately. So, in your dozen, we'll do number 9 and 10. And the first one is just all about triplets, right? Where there's 3 counts in the phrase. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, triplet, triplet. So the first part of the triplet is this note. That's where there's a rest in the right hand, because it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? So it's still, think of it as like one phrase, but the first note of the phrase just happens to be with your left hand. Okay, so you'll see it when I play it. And then on number 10, it's just some chords. And I can't quite see the fingers, but I think you just play them in place and don't move your hand. So that should be pretty straightforward for a dozen. In theory, we're going to start our new unit for the G pentascale, right? So on page 58, you see we know these notes, right? G, A, B, C, D. So go ahead and write the note names on these blanks. And then here's what those notes look like here. So here's middle C, and here's what those notes look like here. G, A, B, C, D. Okay, you can see in the bass clef. And then here's our new notes, G, down here. So if middle C is right here, here's the bass C, so here's the bass G, right? G, A, B, C, D. G, A, B, C, D. Okay, so this will be a good chart to refer back to remember what those notes look like on the staff. Okay, new note G. G is easy to remember because it's the bottom line. It's at the bottom. Okay, so go ahead and fill that in. And then on this part two, they're going to have you actually write the notes, draw a whole note for each of these. So you're basically going to copy what's here over to here for the treble clef, bass clef, and the low G. So it's just going to copy right over. And it's kind of blurry, but I think it says then shade the tonic and dominant notes. I think that's what it says right there. So remember, the first, if we're in the key of G and a 5-finger scale, the first note is the tonic, the 5th note is the dominant. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, right? So you can kind of just work on this. On page 59, goes back to talking about the guide notes, right? You already know C, G, C, F, F, C, and then a new one, G. Okay, so here's that guide note G down here on the bottom. Okay, so then it wants you to write them from lowest to highest. So start with G and rewrite them all and put the names here. And then start with F and write them all going down and put their names. So you're basically just copying this 2 more times. On number 2, I think you might have already got started, and you're halfway done, but so this is an A, and then it wants you to draw whichever of these guide notes is closest to that note. So if this is A, the closest guide note is that new guide note G, okay? And if this is a D, the closest guide note would be C, right? Because here's that guide note C, close to the D. So they want you to draw whichever of these notes is closest to the one they've listed, and then write the name. So the closest guide note is actually C, close to this note, which is D. Does that make sense? So you've written the notes here, but this space actually needs to be the closest guide note. So this is B, and the closest guide note to that B would be this C, right? So they want you to draw that guide note C and then write C on this line. Okay, does that make sense? So you might need to fix those, but that's okay. I think that's all we're going to do in theory this week is page 58 and 59, talking about the guide notes and the G major 5-finger scale. Okay, so there's theory. And then we'll do in your lesson, we'll do page 86 and 87 and 88. So I'll do that in the next video.